My name is Lori Harris, 31 years old. Looking back now, I don't think my engagement ended because of one sentence over brunch. It ended because one sentence finally exposed everything I had spent 2.5 years pretending not to see. My boyfriend, Nathan Brooks, and I had been together for 2.5 years and engaged for 8 months. I honestly believed I knew the man I was going to marry. Looking back, I only knew the version of him he wanted me to see. The real Nathan had been revealing himself in tiny moments all along. I just kept finding excuses to ignore them. Before we met, Nathan had been married once. It happened when he was young, lasted barely a year and a half, and ended without children or shared property. He always described it as a clean break, except there was one thing he never let go of. He still used his ex-wife, Olivia Brooks's last name. Early in our relationship, I asked him why. He shrugged and smiled. Everything at work is under this name. My licenses, certifications, email, LinkedIn. Changing it would be a nightmare. I'll do it eventually. It sounded reasonable, so I let it go. Plenty of people keep a former spouse's surname for professional reasons. I wanted to be understanding instead of insecure. 3 weeks before our wedding, we met 4 of Nathan's closest friends for Sunday brunch downtown. It was exactly the kind of morning every engaged couple dreams about. Mimosas flowed endlessly, while everyone debated flowers, playlists, seating charts, and which relatives absolutely couldn't sit together. Then one of his friends laughed and asked, "So, after the wedding, are you taking Lori's last name or finally changing yours?" Nathan laughed immediately. Not because he was nervous, because he'd been waiting for someone to ask. "Oh, I'm keeping my current name," he answered confidently. His friends looked surprised. "Seriously?" "Yeah." He lifted his glass. "Honestly, Olivia's surname just sounds better." I felt my smile freeze. He wasn't finished. He looked directly at me before saying, "Sorry, Lori, but Harris kind of sounds like an insurance company." The entire table exploded with laughter. One friend nearly spit out her drink. Another slapped the table while saying, "He's brutal!" Even the friend I thought respected me couldn't stop laughing. I mean, he's not wrong. For a few seconds, I couldn't hear anything except the ringing in my ears. I quietly asked, "You're talking about keeping your ex-wife's last name?" Nathan nodded, like we were discussing the weather. "It's been my professional identity for years." Then he looked back at everyone else. "And honestly, it has a much nicer ring to it. More laughter." No one noticed my hands tightening around my coffee cup. No one noticed my heartbeat climbing into my throat. It wasn't the surname that hurt. It was the certainty in his voice. The confidence that he could compare me to another woman, insult my family name, make me the joke in front of everyone, and expect me to smile through it. Suddenly, dozens of forgotten memories came rushing back. The time he joked that my job wasn't impressive enough at his office Christmas party. The time he laughed when his cousin said my apartment looked cute for a starter home. The countless little comments that always ended with, "Relax, I'm only kidding." Every memory suddenly fit together like pieces of the same puzzle. I forced myself to smile. "That's practical," I said softly. "You should absolutely keep the name that feels right." Nathan visibly relaxed. "I knew you'd understand." Those 4 words hurt more than the joke itself. He wasn't relieved because I agreed. He was relieved because he thought I'd accept being embarrassed again. "I'll be right back," I said. I stood up calmly, walked toward the hallway, passed the restroom without slowing down, then pushed open the patio door and stepped outside. The cool air hit my face. For the first time all morning, I could breathe. My hands trembled as I pulled out my phone. Our honeymoon. 10 days at an all-inclusive beachfront resort. Ocean view suite. Private excursions. Couples spa package. Months of planning. The total cost had been just over $8,000. I'd personally paid the $4,000 deposit because Nathan kept promising he'd send his half later. Next paycheck. After my bonus. Once wedding expenses settle, Always later. Never today. I called the resort. A polite woman answered. I need to cancel my reservation. She explained there would be an $800 cancellation fee, and the remaining $3,200 would be refunded within a week. Are you certain? She asked kindly. Once I process this, I can't reverse it. I looked back through the restaurant window. Nathan was laughing again, completely unaware that our future had already ended, I'm sure. A few keystrokes later, the honeymoon no longer existed. Next, I texted my maid of honor. The wedding is off. I'll explain later. Please don't tell anyone yet. Then I slipped my phone back into my purse, straightened my shoulders, and walked back inside. Not toward our table, toward the front entrance. Nathan's best friend noticed me first. Confusion spread across his face. Nathan turned a second later. Our eyes met across the restaurant. I simply raised one hand and gave him a small wave. No anger, no shouting, no tears. Just goodbye. Then I walked out the front door. My phone started vibrating before I even reached my car. Nathan! Again! 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 I silenced every call. I drove across town to my closest friend's apartment. She opened the door, looked at my face for less than 5 seconds, wrapped me in a hug, and quietly said, "You're safe here." She never asked what happened. She simply handed me a mug of coffee and a blanket. Sometimes the people who truly love you don't demand explanations. They just make sure you have somewhere to land. By Wednesday afternoon, I'd counted more than 80 missed calls and nearly 200 text messages. Nathan begged. Then he accused. Then he threatened. His mother left a voicemail calling me selfish and saying I couldn't handle a confident man with his own identity. The final message from Nathan arrived an hour later. You're really throwing away everything over one harmless joke? If you've messed with our honeymoon money, you'll regret it. I stared at the screen for a long time. The truth finally settled over me. It had never been about a last name. It was about spending 2.5 years trying to earn respect from someone who had never intended to give it. And for the first time since we'd met, I stopped wondering how to save the relationship, and started wondering why I'd stayed in it for so long. 4 days after I walked out of that restaurant, everything exploded. Monday morning, just before 8, someone started pounding on my best friend's apartment door hard enough to shake the walls. Neither of us needed to guess who it was. Nathan. My friend opened the door only a few inches. "What do you want?" "I know Lori's here," Nathan snapped. "Tell her to stop acting like a child and come talk to me. She isn't accepting visitors." He didn't care. He shoved the door wider with his shoulder and stepped inside before either of us could stop him. I walked out of the bathroom to find him standing in the middle of the living room, with his arms folded, looking more irritated than concerned. "There you are," he said. "Do you have any idea how embarrassing you've made this for me?" I stared at him. "For you? Yes," he shot back. "My friends think you had some emotional breakdown. My mother has spent days making excuses for you." "What kind of excuses?" "I told everyone you've been stressed from work and completely overreacted to a harmless joke." A harmless joke. Those words landed harder than I expected. "You stood in front of 4 people," I said quietly, "and announced you were keeping your ex-wife's last name because mine wasn't good enough." "I never said it wasn't good enough." "You said it sounded like an insurance company." He rolled his eyes. "Come on, Lori. Everyone jokes like that." "No." I took one step toward him. Healthy couples don't turn each other into entertainment. For the first time, his expression tightened. "You are making this into something it's not." "No," I replied. "I'm finally seeing it for what it is." He laughed bitterly. "So that's it? You're throwing away 2.5 years over a surname?" I shook my head. "I'm ending it because you embarrassed me in public, without thinking twice." He pointed toward me. "I've explained 100 times why I kept Olivia's name. You explained paperwork. You never explained why you announced your decision in front of everyone before discussing it with me." Silence. Just for a second. Then he changed the subject. "You canceled the honeymoon." "Yes. That wasn't just your decision. It absolutely was. Half of that money was mine. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You never paid your half. I was going to, but you didn't. I would have after the wedding. I folded my arms. The entire $4,000 deposit came from my bank account. His jaw tightened. We were getting married. So? What's yours becomes mine. I almost laughed. We weren't married, Nathan. His face darkened. You know what? What? If you're ending this, I want something back. I frowned. What? My time. I blinked. What are you talking about? I spent over 2 years building a future with you. So did I. You wasted my life. Then he said something I never expected. You should let me keep the engagement ring. I stared at him. The ring I bought? You gave it to me. I proposed with it. You don't just get to take it back because you changed your mind. I didn't change my mind. You did. No. My voice stayed calm. I changed my future. His eyes narrowed. I've worn that ring for 8 months. And it belongs to me. I took a slow breath. The law doesn't work that way. Oh, please. In our state, an engagement ring is a conditional gift. He scoffed. You've actually been researching this? I spent the weekend learning exactly where I stand. You seriously looked up legal statutes? I did. He stared at me for several seconds before shaking his head. This is unbelievable. No. What? This is accountability. His face turned bright red. You know what? Fine. He pointed toward the door. My father is an attorney, I know. He'll make sure you regret this. Without another word, he stormed out, slamming the apartment door hard enough to rattle the picture frames. The silence afterward felt strangely peaceful. My best friend looked at me. Has he always talked to you like that? I didn't answer immediately, because I already knew the truth. Yes, I'd simply spent years translating disrespect into love. That evening, Nathan's mother sent me a long email. She accused me of humiliating her son. She said I was destroying the wedding over my fragile ego. The last sentence stopped me cold. Nathan planned to change his surname eventually, after you proved you deserved that commitment. After. Not before. Not during. After I'd already married him. I read the sentence 3 times, then quietly deleted the email. The next morning I took the day off work. Instead of crying, I started making phone calls. The florist, the photographer, the DJ, the couture. Every canceled contract felt like removing another brick from a collapsing building. The venue returned my portion of the deposit. Nathan would have to request his own refund separately. That afternoon, my older sister, a paralegal, came over carrying a folder. I checked everything, she said. She slid several printed pages across my kitchen table. The law is very clear. She pointed at one paragraph. If the marriage never happens, the engagement ring returns to the person who purchased it. So I'm not imagining this. Not even close. She smiled. Lori, you're finally standing up for yourself. For some reason, those words nearly made me cry, not because I was afraid anymore, because I realized how long I'd been sitting down. That evening, I sent Nathan one final message. Per state law regarding conditional gifts, I'm requesting the return of the engagement ring within 14 days. I'd prefer to resolve this privately. If necessary, I'll pursue legal remedies. 3 minutes later, my phone buzzed. LOL. Good luck. A few hours later, another message arrived. Not from Nathan, from his closest friend. He's hurting. You're seriously overreacting. He never meant to insult you. I stared at the screen before typing one sentence. Intent doesn't erase humiliation. No reply ever came. Over the next several days, mutual friends slowly began contacting me. Each conversation sounded strangely similar. I never wanted to get involved, but I always thought Nathan talked down to you. Every person who said it added another piece to the picture I'd refused to see. The brunch wasn't the beginning. It was simply the first time I stopped pretending it was normal. The following week, Nathan's father officially stepped in. I received a formal letter from his law firm demanding that I stop harassing Nathan over the engagement ring. My sister read it once and laughed. "This is meant to scare you," she said. "Legally, it's almost meaningless." Together we drafted a calm response, citing the state law on conditional gifts. We gave Nathan 14 days to return the ring before filing in small claims court. 2 days later, Nathan's father called. "Lori," he said, "can't you let Nathan keep the ring as closure?" I answered quietly. "The ring cost me over $6,000. Closure doesn't come with a price tag." He had no legal argument after that. 3 days later, Nathan finally texted, "Fine, come get it." I brought my best friend as a witness. Nathan opened the apartment door without smiling. He placed the ring box in my hand, avoided eye contact, and closed the door without saying a word. It lasted less than 30 seconds. On the drive home, my friend smiled. "That was a lot less dramatic than I expected." "I'll take peace over drama every time," I replied. A few days later, I learned something that erased my last remaining doubt. One of our mutual friends told me Nathan had already informed several coworkers weeks before brunch that he planned to keep Olivia's surname after our wedding. The announcement hadn't been spontaneous. He had planned it. Brunch was simply the moment he chose to tell me publicly, so I wouldn't challenge him in private. That realization hurt more than the joke itself. I sold the ring, recovered most of my wedding deposits, and slowly turned my apartment back into my own space. Nathan continued telling people he had dodged a bullet. I stopped caring. One evening, my sister asked me a question I'll never forget. "Did you ever truly feel like you were his first choice?" I thought about every apology I'd accepted, every insult I'd excused, every moment I'd convinced myself love required patience. The answer was no. Walking out of that restaurant wasn't the moment I lost my future. It was the moment I finally got it back.